Hello my painting friends, welcome back to our floral series, and this is part number 6, and we're actually going to be starting our roses. But first I need to let you know what you're going to need for your supplies. Now what I have in front of you now is the first rose we're going to do, which is going to be the white one. And I have numbers on the petals, and you need to screenshot this so that you can remember which petals we're going to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on as we work into the center of the rose. Also, we're going to need 2 3/4 inch brushes, flat brushes, like that. And for our colors, you can use Liquitex green gray, or you can use Folk Art Greenscape. For our light color, I am going to use a vintage white, or you can use a linen, or you can use like a dove gray. And then of course we're going to need regular white. You're also going to need some floating medium, or you could use a flow improver if you want that for our overstroking. And that's about it until we get to the center part here. And for the center part, let me show you here. We are going to be using a dark, maybe a dark brown, and then I used green, maybe a citrus green in there. But what we're going to be doing is the greenscape is this color right here, the kind of greeny gray, and then we'll come over it with the vintage white, and then we can highlight with a regular white. So we use 3 colors when we do these rose petals. And then when we do our finishing touches, I'll show you how to add your lights and darks if you have areas that you can't hardly see. Okay, so that's our goal, is to do this rose right here. Okay, so get your supplies out, get your water bucket ready, get you a shop towel, and we get you a paper plate or whatever you're using for your palette out, and we'll go ahead and start on these roses. So see you in just a minute here. So here we are on a practice board. I had a video malfunction, and the first part of my video on these petals for the white flower, it didn't record right, so I had to redo this section over. But if you disregard this, and I'm going to go to these two petals here, these would not be painted. It would look like this on your screen. So I wanted to go over how we start these and load our brushes. So for the white flower, I have vintage white, and I have either Greenscape, the folk art, or the Liquitex green gray. Now I have a Liquitex because sometimes it's hard to get that Greenscape, so that's why I have an alternative there. Also, right here I have the floating medium. We are using two 3/4 inch brushes. These are Donna Dewberry brushes. So the first one I'm going to load with vintage white and your green color, and I am going to go back and forth and double load it. Press down. If you're not for sure how to double load, Donna Dewberry has several videos showing you exactly how to double load your brush. Then I'll take and dip it the corner in floating medium, come back and go back and forth a couple of times. Okay, that brush is ready. You just don't want to have your paint all the way up to the ferrule here. If you do that, then it's hard to get out of there. So you don't want it loaded any more than 3/4 of the way. The next brush, I have taken floating medium and pulled it out and loaded it on both sides, and it's just ready here for me to use it. Now when you use acrylics, you want to make sure that before you use your brushes that you dip them in water and blot them on a nice paper towel. Okay, so let's get started here. So what I have is our number 1 petal here, and what you want to do is you want to start here and there. You want to make yourself a little V. That will help you create the shape, your fan shape. So you can use a 1 stroke and come around like that, or you can just pull it to base coat it in. You just want it wet. Okay, set that brush aside, pick up your brush that has the floating medium in it, and the first stroke you do, you're going to touch and pull straight down, just like that. You might have to go over it twice. Okay, now, oops, touch and pull. Now for this one, I am at a 45-degree angle. Touch, pull. You have to be at that angle in order to create the fan shape. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of this vintage white, and I'm going to go over this petal again while it's wet. You have to do this while it's all wet and wet. You can't let any of this dry if you want to still work on that petal. Okay, touch, pull, touch, pull. So that petal shows up a lot nicer. Then that one's done. So let's turn our canvas. I'm going to wipe my brush that has the floating medium on it. I'm going to wipe it on a paper towel just to get the excess off and reload it with floating medium. All right, let's go to petal number 2 here. So I'm going to put my fan shape in, my 2 little V's here. Kind of gives you a guideline. I'm going to go from here over to here. Okay. Okay, there's your fan. Disregard that other petal up there. All right, we're going to touch in the center first. So touch, pull down, go to the side, touch and pull, touch and pull. Now the reason that's coming up gray there is because I'm going into the gray, and it will pick up whatever color you go into. Now lightly blot it on a paper towel, come back with some more, some of your vintage white, just a little bit. See, I don't have very much. Come back and we can highlight some of those edges, re-highlight them while it's wet. Okay, pull some of that white over here. Touch and pull, touch, pull, just to re-highlight it so it shows up a little nicer. Okay, let's do this one here because this one's on the dry canvas and I don't have anything behind it, so let's do that one. The whole idea of this technique is to do your stroking while it's wet. Okay, so here to here. All right. Now I'm going to use just a pity pat stroke. That will work also. Rotating my brush around each time I put that in, so I get that fan shape. Come back with your floating medium. First stroke is right down the center. Second ones are 45-degree angles. Create that fan shape. Wipe my brush a little bit. I'm going to tip that petal there because it was blending into the background. Maybe tip these right here. Just a little paint, not very much. Okay, so now we have 3 petals that are completed. And then, as I've shown in the rest of the video, you will continue on and you will do, I show you the rest of the petals, but this is petal 1, 2, 3. Then you complete it, and I think I pick up back on 8 and 9. So anyway, practice this. So here we are on petal 8 and 9. Just wanted to go over this one because we have other petals underneath it. Now for this petal, the petals are starting to get a little smaller, so I have dropped down to a number 16 brush, and do your double load just the same as you did on your 3/4 inch brush. So I'm ready to paint, and I want to block in this petal. It's kind of weird because it sets underneath this one right here, but you're still going to do it the same way. Okay, let me pick up my brush that has the floating medium on it. I'm going to go ahead and still use the larger brush to do the over petals. Touch. Now see how far I rotated that one. Touch, pull, touch, pull, touch, pull, and touch, pull, and come in. Now I need to highlight that some because I can't see it. It's blending in with a lot of the other petals. See, I can't tell the difference. So go back, and I'm going to highlight some of those petals with a little bit of the vintage white. Just touch a little bit on my brush. It's still wet. Make sure it's wet. You're going to have a mess. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's that petal. I'm going to set that brush aside. Pick up the 16 again, and I think I need a little more white and a little more. Okay, petal number 9. Here we go. Oops, you're not even going to see that, are you? Keep my hand out of it. I was trying to get it to where. And you can block these in real sloppy. They don't have to be real detailed or anything. But I want to make sure I have enough paint on them. That's the important part. If you don't have enough paint, it's going to be dry. Okay, touch, flick, touch and pull, touch and pull. See those 45-degree angles? Okay, now I can see that. You probably cannot see. It looks like all the same color, but I'm going to pick up a little bit of the vintage white on my brush. I'm going to flip it up to where the paint's on top. We're going to come back and accent a few of those little petals. Now you can see them. Now you can see that petal. So now you know that this petal is over that petal. And you're doing this in a wet and wet technique using your acrylics. Alright, so we have all the back row, we have the middle row, and next we are going to do the center. So be right back, okay? Okay, everyone, let's finish up this rose. So now we're in the center of the rose. We have petal number 10, 11, 12, and 13. Again, I'm still on a 3/4 inch brush, and I have still loaded up my vintage white and my green-gray color. Okay, that's a mouthful there. All right, let's lay in. Now, when you're laying in the center, you want to make sure that you don't go past this area. So when you're laying it in, tilt your brush and come around. See, I start over here, then as I come around, this bottom half is pretty much stationary. See how I have that fan shape? That's what you want. Otherwise, if you start here and go this way, you're going to be clear over here. Pick up your floating medium brush, touch, pull. Again, we want a fan shape. That's what we want. That's the back petals of the center. Your center's right there. Okay? Set that brush aside. Pick up your brush again. Reload it if you have to. Now I want this to start. Here's the center of the petal. So you can do your one stroke if you want to. Sometimes it's easier to do the one stroke than it is to do this and come around. Okay, so I'm going to move this right here. What I'm doing is, this isn't actually the correct way to do the shell stroke. What I'm trying to do is move this dark color up into the white. So I have to use little short strokes when I come around so that it moves it further up on that petal more. But that's not the correct way to do it when you one stroke. You do it different. It's not that close together. Just for clarification. Okay. Now let's come back and touch right here in the center. I want this petal to look like it is over this one right here, and it does. Okay, that's that one. Now we have two front petals here. I'm going to do this one, so I'm going to switch down to this 16 because it looks like a smaller petal to me. So I'm going to start with this one over here. Now you have to cup this a little bit because you want to make it into a shape of a cup. So I'm going to start over here. I want to connect this petal right here with the bottom part there. So that's the angle I'm going to go at whenever I lay in this petal. Okay, so I want this color to be down here, and I want this color to be up here. So I have to come up a little bit. I'm just working this color in. Okay, I don't want to lose that little cup area. Come back in with the floating medium. Okay, and we're going to touch it, pull down. Now I made kind of like a little C stroke there. See that? This one comes down. I want to cup it right in there. Touch, pull. When I pull, I want to cup it so it's actually a C stroke. Let me wipe that brush off just a little bit. Okay, like that. We have to have it so it looks like it's in the front there. Okay, let's go to the next one. So it's a little different when you're laying it in. Okay, I'm just reloading here. For the front of it, I want this petal to cross over here just a little bit, so you need to see this. Okay, I'm going to cross over here. If I put a V right here from the bottom of this over to here, I'm going to connect it right there. This is the area I want to stay in. So I start here. Come up to there. I want a big glob of paint down here though. Okay, but that's the shape that I want. Come back with your brush with your floating medium. We're going to touch, pull, touch, touch, pull, touch, pull. Now see how that petal goes in front? Wipe a little bit of that medium. This one, see how I touched it here and I curved it a little bit to the left there so that it cups underneath that. I want it to cup right under there. Okay. I want to make sure that it creates a little bowl there. You get out of your line, just take your finger and wipe it down a little bit. Okay. And I can take and feather that back in there while it's wet so that we don't have a real distinct line there. There we go. Now it kind of blends in. Oops. Just kind of feather it out a little bit. Now I'm going to come back, take some of that floating medium off. Okay. Now I want to tip just those edges a little bit here. Whee! So now I want this one to connect to that. Whoops, I lost it. Just a minute here. There we go. All right. So now, let's see if I can get all of it in there. Yeah, let me pull it down a little bit. There we go. So now that is your white rose. Now we're not finished with it totally. We will come back and we will check our areas to see what shows up, what doesn't show up, but that's the base coat of that flower there. So get that much done and we will come back and we will start one of our other roses. Okay, see you in a few. Let's do our little rosebud over here. And to do the rosebud, I have dropped down to number 16 brushes. And I have one with the floating medium. And then I have the other one with paint on it. Now my palette color for the pink roses is, we have Vintage White, which is what we used in our first rose. This is, what is that color? This one's a keepsake rose, and this one is a pink melon. That's what color it is. These are all folk art brands. So I've loaded my brush with the keepsake on one end and the melon on the other end, and I went back and forth. I dipped in my medium a little bit and worked it into the brush. So now my brush is ready to paint, has enough paint in it. And what I'm going to do is, I want to paint the center first. And then we'll come out and we'll do the petals, which is different than what we did whenever we painted the other rose. So the darkest on the bottom. I like the rose facing up. And what we're going to do is do, if you're a one-stroke person, there's our little V, and we're going to come around and do a little V and put our paint on. Why? Because I keep my brush stationary right here. Just like that. That's the back part. Set our brush aside. Pick up some, the floating medium. Alright, I'm going to touch and pull. So we're going to start in the center, touch and pull. Touch and pull. Touch and pull. Now sometimes I might wipe my brush off, my floating brush off, if I want it to be more of a transparent color back here. See how it made it a little more translucent? It's totally up to you. Alright, so we have the back and the center done, and you always want the center part darker in here than up there. So my brush is still loaded and I still have enough paint on it. So I'm going to take, and I want to do the cup of the flower here. See, the cup goes across that way. But I think I am going to hold off on that cup, and I am going to go to the outside petals here. So I've got one here, 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 and I have two small ones there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tilt this to where my petals are facing up, because that's the way I like to paint them, and it's easier for me to do that. So let's go 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'd like to have this petal here look like that it's over these two here, and you can choose your direction of what you want. You don't have to have it exactly like I have it. So here we go. Okay, that would be the first petal. I got a little streaky because I didn't blend my brush. I added a little bit of the vintage white in it. Or you can come back and go like this, whichever way that you want to do it. Pick up your brush, your floating medium brush. Okay, we're going to touch, pull, touch, pull. Alright, there's those 3. Now, pick up your brush again. I'm going to go camera here. Here we go. I want this little bitty one here, and I'll put this one on top. So again, load my brush. I want this one to go right over that white petal a little bit. So we're going to touch and pull. Remember, if you want your petals to be a little more transparent, just wipe your brush each time you do a stroke. Now see how that petal, I can see underneath, so that makes that a little transparent. I like that look. See how transparent my outside petals are? I like the outside petals to be more transparent than when you come in, because it makes them look really soft. Now, I might add a little bit of the vintage white into this, because into the pink melon, so that I get a lighter pink. Okay, so from here to here, we're going to add our color for our petal. See how when I lay that in, see how much lighter that is? So you can do that also. Put some floating medium, touch, pull. Now make sure you angle those strokes. This one, and then pull down. It's almost like a C stroke. See how transparent that is? That's going to look real nice. Okay, see how transparent those look? All right, we have one more. So now let's go ahead and load this other petal here. So we're going to go from here to here. Okay, that's our little fan shape. So here, again, remember you can one stroke in that petal if you want to. So we're going to touch, pull, touch, pull, touch, pull. That one's going into your side here. Here is your bud right here. Now when we have just an area here that is open, what you can do on that is just fill it in with some color. I'm going to fill it in with the pink melon. Just fill it in with color. Kind of blend it in a little bit. Now I'm going to connect this right here, and we're going to come down. We're going to make little petals. Oops, can you see that? Off to the side here. Let me get it lighter, or I'm not going to be able to see it. Right here off the side. Come off right here. Come right on around right here. Like that. Then take your brush, and we can touch and pull in. And when you get right to this one, touch and pull in on a C stroke. On this one, touch and pull, touch and pull, touch and pull. When we get to this one, we're going to touch and do a little C stroke. Now I can't see that very well, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of the vintage white. We're going to highlight these so we can see this. Okay, there we go. Just need to edge it a little bit, okay, so that you can see those strokes coming down. I don't have very much paint on my brush. Pull it right on in to the bottom of that right there. Okay, now see if I can edge this one just a little bit. Okay, there. Now I want to come back and edge those, but it might be dry. Might not be able to do that. Just depends on if I have enough moisture still in there. See, I'm just laying in a few more petals. There we go. Now for the front, we want the front to be a little bit lighter. So let's come in. I'm working off the back edge there. Make a little horseshoe. Like that. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the vintage white. Okay, I'm going to touch, pull down, touch, pull down. All right. That would be pretty much your little center part there. I'm going to leave these lighter here, but leave those back there a little bit transparent. So I'm happy with that rosebud, and we will do the centers. Now I have a little stroke that got loose with me right there. Okay. There's your rosebud. Now we'll come back and we'll do this huge rose here. All right, see you in a few. Let's go ahead and start our peach rose. And for that, I am using different colors. I mixed up the pink melon with pure orange and a little bit of the vintage white and came up with this peach color. This color over here is linen, folk art linen, and I mixed a little bit of the pink melon and a little bit of the keepsake rose and a little bit of these three colors that we used and already had on our palette. If it still isn't light enough, if it gets too dark, then go ahead and mix some of your vintage white with it. Okay, I've come over here. I've created my little strip, my double loading strip. I have put a little bit of floating medium on the outside tip there. And now we're going to come over here and we're going to start our petals. I'm going to leave this up a few seconds and you can screenshot this because, let's see, let me come down. There we go. So we have petal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, go ahead and screenshot that. And then I'm going to go ahead and start. We're doing exactly the same thing that we've been doing the whole time. The light color is going to be flipped up, and I'm going to go from here over to here with my stroke. So I'm going to start over here. Just using short, choppy strokes to lay it in. You can still use your little fan stroke if you want to, if that is more comfortable for you. Okay, I picked up my other brush, and I have floating medium on it. Hang on, I forgot to load it. Okay, so I've loaded that with some floating medium. Now I want to come in, touch, pull, touch, pull, touch, pull, pull, get one more stroke in there. All right, I'm going to wipe my brush, just the edge of it off. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the vintage white. I'm going to come back. I'm going to edge a few of these in the vintage white. Touch, pull, touch, pull. Okay, because I want it pretty light out there on that outside edge. Whoops, pulled out the wrong stroke. Okay. Now I see where I could even come in and create a second petal on that. The way the light is showing, I could come in and create a second petal right here. I don't know why it was just showing up like that, kind of. And so I'll go ahead and create a second petal. All right, stuck to my canvas there. Let's come back. Petal 2. Let's get in here to focus, is right here to right here. All right, put your base coat in, start turning your brush, set that down, pick up your brush with some floating medium, touch and pull, touch and pull, touch and pull. If you want that lighter, Wipe your brush on a paper towel. Come back in and highlight some of those petals with a little bit lighter color. Do it while it's wet. Okay. Set your brush down. Okay, petal number 3. Way down here. Okay. So touch, we're going from here over to here. Okay, I'm going to do my stroke here and then I'm going to fill that in. So I'll flatten my brush down as far as I can flatten it. And then take the back corner, fill that in. Pick my brush up with floating medium on it. Touch, pull, touch, pull. Let's go up just a little bit more. Okay, let's bring this one down further. There we go. There, look at that nice long stroke. All right. Petal number 4. So over here, we're going to go from here over to here. Okay, touch. Base it in. You can one stroke it in, however you want to get that paint into that canvas. Make sure you kind of scrub it like in there. All right, center of the petal is right here. Touch and pull. Touch and pull. And I'll start curving it. Flip that one over. Okay, let's highlight it a little bit so we can see it just a little bit better. See how transparent that is? Love that. Right, this one here. Remember, we can come back and redo some of these if they're not highlighting up enough for you. Okay. Set your brush down. Here's 5. But what we're going to do, let's go ahead and finish out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to do it exactly like we did the white rose. So if you're not for sure how to do it, back this video up and watch that again because it's exactly the same way. And I'll come back when I finish this out and show you. Now we've finished our peach rose. And we want to go over here to this rose here because this is going to be another pink one. Wanted to add another pink one in here. So I want to go over the number sequence with you. And then I'm going to see if you can do this rose all on your own. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this so you see the numbering. And the first petal is this one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now if you see this little part right here, this little arch right here, that's just reference as to the center point, and you just paint right on over that. In other words, this 7 petal will go right, be part of that, and the 8 will be part of that. That's just when I'm sketching these in, I have my reference point, because I just free motioned these in when I was doing them. So that is your number base. And like I said, let me give you your colors. Okay, your colors again are going to be, this is your pink melon, Bocart. This is your keepsake rose. That's your dark. There's your light. And your highlight is going to be the vintage white. Okay, I am using 16 brush. I have my little running strip here to go back and forth on, and I have my floating medium over here. So with that in mind, I want you to go ahead and complete this rose on your own, and I will come back and show you this rose and the other roses when we do a video on the finishing touches. Okay, have fun. Well, what do you think, everyone? I'm totally finished with all the roses here. I couldn't get the whole painting in this shot, but there's where you start at the top. Then I'll pull it up so you can see the bottom. Doesn't want to go. Let's go this way. Okay, so here we go to the bottom here. Over to the side here. Okay, and up at the left-hand corner up there. So we've completed all of our roses. Now, wasn't that fun? I think they turned out really well. What I want to do right now is completely let this painting dry.